You know something most folks never figure out? The most powerful person in any room is the one who truly knows who they are. That's it. Simple truth. When you know who you are, really know, down in your bones, you become unstoppable. And that scares people. I've watched it happen thousands of times. A person walks into a room, quiet confidence, no need to prove anything, and everybody notices. Not because they're loud, not because they're showing off, but because they carry themselves with the quiet power that comes from knowing exactly who they are. And some people in that room, they'll be afraid of that person. Absolutely afraid. Now, why is that? I'll tell you why. When you know who you are, you can't be manipulated, you can't be pushed around, you can't be made small. And that terrifies people who spend their lives trying to control others. Freaks had a saying, know thyself, just 2 words. But those 2 words contain the secret to everything you want in life. Everything, your success, your happiness, your relationships, your wealth, it all starts with knowing who you are. Most people never take the time to figure themselves out. They live on the surface of life. They follow the crowd. They do what everyone else does. They never dig deep to discover their own values, their own strengths, their own purpose. And then they wonder why their lives feel empty. They wonder why success eludes them. They wonder why they're so easily knocked off course by every little wind that blows. But not you. You're different. You're here because something inside you is calling for more. Something inside you knows there's a bigger game to play. Something inside you is ready to step into your full power by truly knowing who you are. Look around at the great ones, in business, in the arts, in sports, in any field. What do they all have in common? Self-knowledge. They know their strengths. They know their weaknesses. They know their values. They know what matters to them. They know their purpose. And that knowledge gives them an unshakable foundation that nothing and no one can take away. Now let's talk about why people fear those who know themselves. It's simple, really. When you know who you are, you become dangerous. Dangerous to the status quo. Dangerous to mediocrity. Dangerous to those who want to keep you small. Think about it. When you truly know yourself, you stop seeking approval. You stop needing others to validate your worth. You stop following the herd. You start making decisions based on your own values and your own judgment. You start speaking your truth, even when it's not popular. You start living life on your own terms. And that makes some people very uncomfortable. Why? Because your authenticity holds up a mirror to their own lack of it. Your courage highlights their fear. Your clarity highlights their confusion. Your purpose highlights their aimlessness. And deep down, that stirs something in them they've been trying to ignore. The knowledge that they too could be living a more authentic life if they were brave enough to look within. This is why the person who knows who they are will always be feared by those who don't. Always. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly everything is exposed. The person who knows themselves is that light. They expose the games, the pretending, the masks that most people hide behind. And that exposure feels threatening to those who aren't ready to face their own truth. I remember a young man who came to one of my seminars years ago. Bright fellow, doing pretty well in business, but something was off. During a break, he came up to me and said, Mr. Rohn, I make good money, but I feel like I'm living someone else's life. I asked him whose life he thought he was living. He said, my father's. I became an accountant because that's what he wanted. I dressed the way he thinks is professional. I even bought a house in the neighborhood he approved of. I looked him straight in the eye and said, son, the most valuable gift you can give your father is to become yourself. He looked shocked. Then he started to cry, right there in the middle of a business seminar, because something in him knew it was true. 6 months later, he wrote me a letter. He quit his accounting job, started a small landscape design businesses, something he'd always loved, and was making less money but feeling truly alive for the first time. And here's the kicker. His father, after getting over the initial shock, told he'd never seen him so happy and that he was proud of him for finding his own. That's the power of knowing who you are. It doesn't just change your life. It changes the lives of everyone around you. It gives others permission to be authentic too. Now, the journey to finding yourself isn't always easy. Let me be straight with you about that. It requires courage to look honestly at yourself, your strengths and your weaknesses, your light and your shadow. It requires discipline to peel back the layers of conditioning that society, your family, your education, and your experiences have placed upon you. It requires wisdom to separate your true self from the roles you play and the masks you wear. But I promise you this, it's the most worthwhile journey you will ever undertake. Because once you know who you are, everything else falls into place. Everything. I've seen people transform their lives completely once they discovered who they truly were. I've seen them leave jobs that were slowly killing their spirit and create work that energized them. I've seen them walk away from relationships that diminished them and find connections that celebrated their authentic self. I've seen them change their health, their wealth, their impact on the world, all because they finally got clear on who they really were. Let me share with you what I consider the 5 pillars of self-knowledge. These are the areas you need to get clear on if you want to truly know who you are. The first pillar is your values. What matters most to you? Not what should matter according to others, but what truly matters to you. Is it freedom, family, achievement, creativity, justice, contribution, peace, adventure? Get clear on your top 5 values, and you'll have a compass for every decision you make. I once worked with a woman who couldn't figure out why she was so miserable in her high-paying corporate job. When we did the values work, she discovered that creativity and freedom were her top 2 values. But her job gave her almost no opportunity to express either one. No wonder she was dying inside. She was living in direct contradiction to what mattered most to her. Once she understood this, she was able to negotiate a more creative role within her company and eventually started her own business where she had the freedom she craved. The second pillar is your strengths. What are you naturally good at? What skills come easily to you? What do others compliment you on? Where do you consistently excel? These are clues to your natural talents. And when you build your life around your strengths instead of trying to fix your weaknesses, you set yourself up for success. Let me tell you something important. The most successful people in the world aren't good at everything. They're extraordinary at a few things and smart enough to delegate or ignore the rest. They know their strengths and they play to them relentlessly. That's how they rise to the top. The third pillar is your purpose. Why are you here? What contribution do you want to make? What problems do you want to solve? What legacy do you want to leave? Your purpose isn't just about what you do. It's about the impact you want to have and the difference you want to make. Finding your purpose might take time, and that's okay. Look for the intersection of what you're good at, what you love doing, what the world needs, and what you can be rewarded for. That sweet spot is often where purpose lies. The fourth pillar is your personality. Are you naturally introverted or extroverted? Do you prefer structure or flexibility? Are you detail-oriented or big-picture focused? Do you make decisions based primarily on logic or on values and feelings? Understanding your natural tendencies helps you create a life and work style that suits who you are instead of fighting against your nature. I see so many people struggling because they're in environments that go against their personality. Introverts in jobs that require constant social interaction with no time to recharge. Creative types in rigid, highly structured roles. Detail-oriented folks in positions that require constant big-picture thinking. Know your personality, and you can find or create the right environment for you to thrive. The fifth pillar is your story. What experiences have shaped you? What challenges have you overcome? What lessons have you learned? Your story isn't just what happened to you. It's the meaning you've made from those experiences. And when you own your story, all of it, the triumphs and the tragedies, you claim your power. I remember working with a man who had grown up in poverty. For years, he was ashamed of his background and tried to hide it. But when he finally embraced that part of his story, he realized that growing up poor had given him remarkable resilience, creativity, and appreciation for everything he now had. Once he owned his story, it became not a source of shame, but a source of strength. These 5 pillars, your values, your strengths, your purpose, your personality, and your story, form the foundation of self-knowledge. Get clear on these, and you'll have an unshakable sense of who you are. Now, I want to be honest with you. When you start standing in your truth and living authentically, you're going to face challenges. Not everyone will be happy about the real you showing up. Some people have a vested interest in you staying small. Maybe they're controlling personalities who can't manipulate you once you know who you are. Maybe they're insecure and your growth threatens them. Maybe they've just grown comfortable with the role you've been playing in their lives, and they resist when you step out of that role. Whatever the reason, expect pushback. Expect criticism. Expect people trying to make you doubt yourself or pull you back into old patterns. This is normal. It doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. In fact, it often means you're doing something right. I've seen this happen countless times. A person starts honoring their truth, setting healthy boundaries, pursuing their dreams, speaking up for themselves. And suddenly, relationships get tense. People who were supposedly supportive start making cutting remarks or trying to plant seeds of doubt. Here's what you need to understand. This reaction is not about you. It's about them. It's about their fear, their insecurity, their discomfort with change. Don't take it personally and don't let it stop you. The people who truly love and support you will adjust to the authentic you. They might need time, but they'll get there. And those who can or won't, well, some relationships aren't meant to last a lifetime. Some are just there for a season or a reason, and then it's time to move on. Another challenge you'll face is internal resistance. Parts of you will fight against your own growth and authenticity. The ego hates change. It's designed to keep things stable and predictable, even if stable and predictable means staying stuck in patterns that no longer serve you. You'll experience fear. You'll hear that inner critic telling you all the reasons why you should stay small and safe. You'll feel the pull to fall back into familiar habits and roles, even when you know they're not right for you. This too is normal. Growth isn't always comfortable. Becoming more of who you truly are means letting go of who you thought you were, and that can feel like a kind of death. But on the other side of that discomfort is freedom. Freedom to be yourself, to live according to your own values, to make your unique contribution to the world. Let's talk about the ripple effect of knowing yourself. When you get clear on who you are and start living authentically, it doesn't just change your life. It changes everything and everyone around you. First, your relationships transform. When you know who you are, you naturally attract people who appreciate the real you and repel those who don't. Your connections become deeper, more authentic, more satisfying. You stop wasting time on relationships that drain you and start investing in ones that energize you. Second, your work changes. When you know your strengths, values, and purpose, you naturally gravitate toward work that allows you to express them. You become more engaged, more creative, more productive. And that leads to greater success, however you define it. Third, your health improves. This might surprise you, but living out of alignment with your true self creates tremendous stress. Your body knows when you're not being authentic, even if your conscious mind is in denial. That stress takes a toll, physically, mentally, emotionally. When you start honoring your truth, that stress diminishes. Your body relaxes. Your immune system functions better. Your mind clears. Your emotions stabilize. I've seen people recover from chronic conditions once they started living authentically. I've seen their energy increase, their sleep improve, their anxiety decrease. Fourth, your impact grows. When you know who you are, you know what you're here to contribute. You stop wasting energy on things that don't matter to you and start focusing on making the difference only you can make. Whether your sphere of influence is your family, your community, your company, or the world at large, your impact becomes more focused and more powerful. Now, let me share with you some simple daily practices for strengthening your self-awareness, because knowing yourself isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. a muscle you need to develop and strengthen over time. The first practice is simple reflection. Take 10 minutes at the end of each day to ask yourself, what energized me today? What drained me? What did I learn about myself? Where did I honor my values, and where did I compromise them? This simple practice, done consistently, will reveal patterns and insights about who you are and how you're living. The second practice is paying attention to your body. Your body often knows your truth before your mind does. Notice when you feel energized versus depleted. Notice when you feel expansive versus contracted. Notice what makes your shoulders tense and what makes them relax. These physical sensations are valuable data about what's right for you. The third practice is seeking feedback. Ask people who know you well, what do you see as my strengths? When do I seem most alive? When do I seem most myself? Often, others can see patterns in us that we're too close to notice. Their perspective can provide valuable insights into your true nature. The fourth practice is experimenting. Try new things, take on different challenges, explore various ways of working, living, relating. Each experiment gives you more data about who you are and what works for you. The fifth practice is journaling. Writing helps clarify your thoughts and feelings in a way that just thinking about them doesn't. Write about your experiences, your reactions, your dreams, your fears. Over time, patterns will emerge that give you insight into your true nature. The sixth practice is mindfulness. Learn to observe your thoughts, feelings, and reactions without immediately identifying with them or acting on them. This creates space between stimulus and response. Space in which you can choose how to act based on your values and your true self rather than reacting automatically. The seventh practice is seeking solitude. In our hyper-connected world, we rarely spend time alone with our own thoughts and feelings, but solitude is essential for self-knowledge. Make time regularly to disconnect from devices, people, and external stimulation. Just be with yourself. Let me share with you a few stories of transformation through self-knowledge. These are real people I've worked with over the years whose lives were changed dramatically when they got clear on who they truly were. There was Tom, a highly successful attorney who, by all external measures, had it made. Great income, prestigious firm, beautiful home. But he was miserable and couldn't figure out why. Through our work together, he discovered that one of his core values was creativity, which was getting virtually no expression in his work as a corporate lawyer. Rather than abandoning law entirely, Tom found a way to bring his creativity into his profession. He became a legal innovator, developing new approaches to complex cases, and eventually writing a book about creative problem solving in law. He stayed in his field, but transformed how he practiced it to align with his authentic self. Today, he's not only happy, but even more successful, known as one of the most innovative minds in his area of law. Then there was Sarah, a middle school teacher who loved her students, but was burning out fast. Through exploring her personality, she realized she was a strong introvert in a job that required her to be on and interacting all day with no breaks to recharge. No wonder she was exhausted. Sarah didn't quit teaching, which she loved. Instead, she got creative about building in small pockets of solitude throughout her day. She arranged her schedule to have lunch alone in her classroom rather than in the noisy teacher's lounge. She created independent work time for her students when she could quietly circulate rather than being the center of attention. These small changes made a huge difference. Let's talk about creating your personal philosophy. This is a crucial step in knowing who you are and living accordingly. Your personal philosophy is your set of guiding principles about what matters most to you, how you want to live, and what kind of impact you want to have. It's the foundation upon which you build your life and make your decisions. Most people never take the time to develop a personal philosophy. They live by default rather than by design, absorbing values and beliefs from their family, their culture, their peer group, without ever questioning whether those values and beliefs truly align with who they are. But when you know yourself, you can create a personal philosophy that reflects your authentic self. And that philosophy becomes your North Star. guiding you even in the most challenging circumstances. How do you create your personal philosophy? Start by getting clear on your answers to these fundamental questions. What do I value most? What do I believe about human nature and the world? What kind of person do I want to be? How do I define success? What principles will I never compromise, no matter what? What legacy do I want to leave? Take your time with these questions. Reflect on them deeply. Write down your answers and revisit them regularly. As you gain more life experience and self-knowledge, your answers may evolve, and that's fine. The important thing is that your philosophy comes from your authentic self, not from external expectations or pressure. Let's talk now about turning self-knowledge into success. Because knowing yourself is powerful, but it's what you do with that knowledge that ultimately determines the quality of your life and the impact you have on the world. First, your self-knowledge to make better decisions. When you're clear on your values, your strengths, your purpose, and your personal philosophy, decision-making becomes simpler. You just ask, does this choice align with who I am and what matters most to me? If yes, move forward. If no, reconsider or look for alternatives. Second, use your self-knowledge to focus your energy. You can't excel at everything, and you don't need to. When you know your strengths, you can concentrate on developing them into areas of exceptional ability rather than wasting time trying to be a jack of all trades. Third, use your self-knowledge to build authentic relationships. When you know who you are, you can show up genuinely in your relationships. You're not trying to be who you think others want you to be. You're being your true self. This authenticity attracts people who appreciate the real you and creates the foundation for deeper, more meaningful connections. Fourth, use your self-knowledge to contribute your unique gifts. Everyone has something distinctive to offer, a combination of talents, perspectives, and passions that no one else has in quite the same way. When you know what your unique contribution is, you can focus on making the difference only you can make. Fifth, use your self-knowledge to create environments that support your success. When you know your personality, your working style, and what conditions bring out your best, you can intentionally create or seek out environments that match. And finally, use your self-knowledge to stay resilient in the face of challenges. When you're clear on who you are and what matters most to you, setbacks don't define you or derail you. They're just temporary obstacles on the path to your goals. Let me leave you with this thoughts. Your greatest power is not in trying to become someone else. It's in becoming more fully yourself. The world doesn't need another copy of someone who already exists. It needs your unique combination of gifts, perspectives, and passions. It needs your authentic voice. It needs the contribution that only you, being fully yourself, can make. So embrace the journey of self-knowledge. Have the courage to look within, to discover who you truly are, and to live accordingly. Yes, it may frighten those who aren't ready to face their own truth. Yes, it may disrupt the comfortable patterns you've established. Yes, it may mean walking away from people or situations that no longer align with your authentic self. But on the other side of that courage is a life of unimaginable richness, impact, and fulfillment. A life where you're not just going through the motions, not just meeting external expectations, but truly living from your core, expressing your values, using your strengths, fulfilling your purpose, being who you were meant to be. And that, my friends, is the secret to not just success, but to a life well lived. Know thyself. Be thyself. And watch how the world responds to the authentic power you bring. They might fear you because you know who you are, but they'll also respect you, be inspired by you, and perhaps even find the courage to discover and express their own authentic selves. And that's how, one person at a time, we change the world. Friends, I want to leave you with this final thought. Your greatest power isn't found in trying to be someone else. It's found in becoming more authentically yourself. The world is filled with copies. The world is filled with people hiding behind masks. But what the world truly needs is you, the real you, standing in your truth, offering your unique gifts. When you know who you are, You become unstoppable. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. And reality has a power that pretense can never match. Yes, some may fear that power. Your authenticity might make them uncomfortable. Your clarity might highlight their confusion. Your purpose might expose their aimlessness. But never dim your light to make others comfortable. Instead, shine so brightly that you give them permission to shine too. This is your life. Not a rehearsal, not a practice run, but your one precious life. Live it as yourself. Make decisions based on your values. Use your unique strengths. Fulfill your distinctive purpose. Tell your authentic story. They may fear you because you know who you are. But they'll also respect you, be inspired by you, and perhaps find the courage to discover who they truly are. And that's how we change the world, one authentic life at a time.